a biotech company. What we do at LifeBit is we do a lot of AI and cloud technologies that facilitates the analysis and understanding of genetic data in the light of other types of data. Multi-omics data, different imaging data, phenotypic clinical data. So that is in a nutshell what we do. And to whom LifeBit is, for whom we created LifeBit basically, is for pretty much everyone, right? Everyone that wants to make sense of genetic and not only data and understand what the code of life means. We hope that we will develop a part of technology from LifeBit that will enable that person to do that job, right? And that person can be anyone within clinical settings, pharma settings, trying to do therapeutics, trying to do drug discovery, trying to do diagnostics, down to people that are just trying to do consumer genetics and wellness and inform people, and then other sort of like areas, cosmetics, plants, animal genomics. So there are like a lot of times we're focused very much on humans, but there are also other species or other sort of like even microbes of interest that we could analyze and get a lot of understanding and a lot of data to help anything from human health to our nutrition, to our wellness, and to our well-being in general. Yes, absolutely. I mean, so aging, when it comes as itself, is not only related to big data. Aging is related mainly to our understanding of how all of these different types of data, from genomic to phenotypic to even clinical data, even drug data, right? Chemical and biochemical data come together, right? If we don't really understand what are the drivers, the genetic drivers of aging? How do they contribute into the aging process? If you don't understand the molecular pathways, the proteins that are circulating in our body and contribute to aging. And on the other hand, if we don't understand the human metabolism, if we don't understand the effect of different drugs into those pathways, into the human metabolism, if we don't understand the role of also nutrition and on wellness and like, then basically, you know, you don't have a holistic picture of aging, right? So aging as itself is sort of like a contribution of all of these different factors: genetics, metabolic, environmental, wellness factors, right? And as such, we need to be understanding all of them, right? Initially separately, one by one, because, you know, we need to dissect them in simple concept to be able to understand them. But then eventually we need to take the next step, and I think there is where the sort of like the longevity community is right now. We need to take the extra step of like integrating all of that information to get the holistic picture of what aging means for each individual. Yes and no. So there is always, so in general, there is always a resistance for adoption for change. There is always a resistance into change, but if you look at it, you can see, you can find really good reasons why that resistance exists, right? If you come to think what a clinical doctor does all of the day, they run and they need to, I don't know, see like 20 patients every day, or they need to perform 8 surgeries every day, right? So that person is on a rush. It's so focused on what happens here and now, on that small picture of like that patient, that of course, he doesn't, and he should be, because if he isn't, then someone dies, right? So, and now if you think about that, what you're trying to do is you are trying to take that clinician out of that small picture and tell him, but why you're not looking at the future? Why you're not adopting these amazing technologies? Let's discuss about aging. That clinician is like, whoa, you know, like I have patients dying here. Like I need to be doing other things. So of course there is going to be this resistance. It's only normal. Now, the way to overcome this resistance is if you can find a way to build the technologies in such a way where instead of they becoming yet another hurdle for the doctor, for the clinical person, they become an enabling tool that actually removes some of the difficulties that the doctor must has, or they integrate in the way the doctor does the job right now, then of course there is not going to be any resistance. The adoption is going to be much easier. A good example of that and not so much on the technologies and genomics as well, right? Is right now Genomics England, so NHS have announced that they're going to become the first ones introducing routine genetic analysis into the healthcare system starting from January 2019. And the great way they are doing it, they've created this amazing list of like, oh, here are the diseases, right, that you might be suspecting as a doctor. Here is now a new genetic diagnostics procedure that you can order, right? So then the doctor, this comes into the already known list and the already way the doctors has used to work, and then the doctor knows, maybe suspects from the symptom that might be one of those diseases, goes to that, so like, okay, order me this genetic test, and it's so easy. And the beauty of it is like all of the genetic hassle does not happen anymore about the doctor, happens from the Genomics England, that they are experts, they have already 5-6 years of experience doing these things, they are masters of the technology, they are masters of the data, right? And then they do all of the nitty-gritty work, they do all of the difficult work, right? All of the data heavy lifting, and they give back the results to the doctor and to the clinical personnel in general, right? So I find that's a really great example of like how can you bring really difficult technologies and processing and data processing into sort of like into reality, into the healthcare reality, because at the end of the day, that is what we are all about. Even longevity and aging, that is all about. Like if we cannot make it a mainstream thing, if we cannot bring it to the individuals, then there is no point in doing it, right? So the Longevity World Forum is a really, really great conference. I know it's the first year it's been running. I think it's essential. First of all, where I find that it's quite unique compared to the other longevity conferences is that it's much more scientific, and it brings more of a holistic view of like what has to happen, what are the different things that we have to think, not just like, oh yeah, there is this regenerative medicine that you can now take and everything, you know, you're going to be young forever. So I think as such is, I would say, a much less superficial conference and more into like the true science, the true sort of like meaning, and providing a much more holistic view on what longevity means and what has to happen to make it a reality, basically, right? So, I think it's a great initiative. And the caliber of all of the speakers and the organization has been excellent. And if anything, I think it's a good also that's also in Europe. It's in Spain. And it can become a landmark where one of these landmark events where all of the speakers, like, we every time meet each other a year after year, and then we catch up about the latest things in research, in tech, in drugs, in methods. So basically, I think it's a great thing to have.